Hello everyone, welcome to GoTarryn TV. I'm Dr. T, PhD, the prodigy of sports psychology, here welcoming another wonderful guest all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa, Ms. Natalie Joel. Now before Natalie rejoins us back here on GoTarryn TV, I'd like to ask everyone out there if you please be so kind as to like this video, leave us a comment, and share it with all of your friends and family out there. Now we've had Natalie on multiple times before. She's one of the best guests right here on GoTarryn TV. She's a life coach, she's a keto coach, she does banting. There's so much that I can go on and on about her, and she's a great motivational speaker and very intelligent. She's going to speak very highly here in terms of what she does from both a physiological component but also a psychological standpoint too. So it's going to be interesting to get those perspectives from Natalie, as she always does so eloquently in her way here on our show today. So again, when we come back, we'll return with Natalie Joel of Living Keto with Nat right here on GoTarryn TV. And remember, with GoTarryn Health and Fitness, it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. And as I promised, I'm excited to once again be joined here by Ms. Natalie Joel. Natalie, how are you doing out there in Johannesburg today?
Wonderful, thank you. One of our coldest days this year so far.
Yeah.
But it's the sun's shining, and it's beautiful.
That's funny because I guess we're just kind of the opposite, obviously. You know, not only are you 6 hours ahead, but you're also, a little bit further south, obviously, on the opposite end of the hemisphere. So you're entering into the winter time, I guess, getting ready to, correct?
We're like halfway through the winter by now.
Halfway through the winter. Okay, great. And what is the temperature about roughly right now out there?
It's about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, which is that. Wow. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
I think it's like in the mid 40s Fahrenheit. Yeah. Wow, that's cold, and that is very, very cold.
But we're lucky. We don't have a cold winter. We have what we call cold snaps.
Oh, okay.
So we have lovely cold weather, and then we have freezing weather for about a week or so, and then it warms up again in Johannesburg.
Oh,
Johannesburg's
nice.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how our weather is in winter.
Good. Well,
and no rain, so it's not freezing water coming down or snow. We don't have snow.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy to hear that. And last time you and I chatted, we were kind of checking in, and you were getting the vaccine shot, and I know that you were waiting a long time, and so that I wanted to catch up with you. I'm so happy you managed to get it. I think you stood in line 7 hours or plus. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Wow. And was this the one shot? You don't need a second.
I got the one shot, the Johnson & Johnson.
Perfect. Oh, good. I'm so happy to hear that. And how did it go for you and your husband? Side effects? Was it okay?
No side effects whatsoever. Interesting.
Nice.
No side effects. Just a slight tender arm for a couple of hours, and then I didn't. Forgot about having it.
Oh, that's so good. I'm so happy to hear that. Wow. So it sounds like that didn't affect your work or affect your schedule or anything like that. Just besides standing in line, I guess. But
yeah, I think it's improved a lot from what people are telling me, that they don't have this crazy lines anymore, and they've now brought it down to 50 and over.
Oh,
and
nice.
In 4 weeks, it's fantastic. In a couple of weeks' time, it's going to be 40s. We'll be able to go and have it. So it's getting moving.
That sounds very good. It's interesting. I was talking to your brother-in-law Malcolm, of course, regarding the recent spike. It looks like there's an uptick over in Israel, of all places, where they've almost got full 100%, vaccine distribution. I asked him about that. I said, that's kind of interesting, and I guess it's this variant, this Delta kind of variant mutation that they're talking about. Have you heard about this?
It's that's the rampant one at the moment.
Yeah, and so down in South Africa right now, it's the same issue. Is it kind of what businesses are still kind of closed right now and such, or how is that going right now?
Well, the area that I live in, the province, you would call it the state, the province, Gauteng. We were under lockdown for 2 weeks. We couldn't leave Gauteng for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Because it was the worst year of the Delta.
Okay.
But it seemed that on Sunday our president spoke to us, and he didn't open the borders again, but he did open. Gyms were closed, and restaurants couldn't have sit downs, but he's reopened that again.
Oh,
So
good.
hopefully things will start. Apparently it is on a downward curve from what I've heard. So hopefully it will continue. Mm.
Okay, okay. Well, that's hopeful. Yeah, we heard horror stories here in one of our states, California. In fact, that they were actually closing up again and saying, "Get ready, masks are coming back," and it's going to hit the whole United States. So it's just so weird. You don't know who to trust or who to believe. Like, there's so much different news out there on this whole thing. So that's where we're kind of at right now, I think. So just kind of uncertainty, I guess you could say.
Very,
It feels like.
very.
Yeah, and here in the United States, the media, I think, really does a bad job of stirring things up and kind of, just for ratings, just doom and gloom
That's the
sales.
normal play on our fears.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, so I take them with a grain of salt, like whenever I'm listening to them and just seeing what's out there and just make my own judgment. But I guess we could all be hopeful, so that, it's optimistic if things are hopefully turning for positive. And that's good that they are out there where you're at. So how about business? How's coaching been for you? How's everything with Banting and keto? What's going on in your world?
Oh, I'm loving venting.
Yeah.
Um, in it for a laugh. It's made such an improvement. I think that's also why we did not have the reactions that most people seem to be having from the vaccinations, because we don't have inflammation in our bodies.
Ah.
So the vaccine was able to sit down and get going and do fine.
That makes
That's
a
what
lot
I
of
think.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you're right. That does make a lot of sense. Like anything, the healthier you are, if you get a cold or if you get an injury or you have any kind of illness or a thing that lingers, you definitely recover from it quicker if you're healthier and if your body, your immune system. So that really does say a lot. For the people, you and I have been on here a lot and talked about Banting and such, but if it's someone's first time, can you kind of maybe just give them a high-level summary of what is Banting, what's keto, and what is living
Sure.
life with Nat all about?
Okay. Um, the standard American diet is a lot of grains, a lot of processed foods, sugar,
It's true. Yeah.
and one is recommended to have a certain amount of grains at every meal, or often during the day,
Hmm.
and a high carbohydrate intake. And if a person's diabetic, they say you should eat every 2 hours to keep your sugar levels right, and you've got to have grains at all the meals and all that type of thing. With keto, low carb, Banting, it's the opposite.
Uh-huh.
The This way of eating, many doctors and scientists have come out to show that the grains, the seed oils, the sugars cause a lot of inflammation in the body, and
Hmm.
all the autoimmune diseases that have come out in the last 100 years are basically from the standard American diet way. Not only America, obviously, but the people who
Right.
eat heavily processed foods,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
heavily processed and is minimal nutrients.
Hmm.
So the processed foods don't have much protein, they don't have nutrients, basically. And the problem is that the sugar comes into the body, and our brains run either on sugar or on fat,
Mm-hmm.
which uses keto. That's where the word keto comes from.
Hmm.
So when you're having the sugar, it's it's an easy fuel. The body gets it in, uses it up, out it goes. So a person is always hungry. And the problem then also is that a lot of the foods we get addicted. It's a
Hmm.
scary thing to say, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us are addicted to
Yeah.
sugar.
Yeah.
You need that sugar. We have something in our brains here that it's like an alcoholic or a cigarette smoker or a drug abuse. You need that fix all
Hmm.
the time. Like
Hmm.
people say, I'm so down, I think I'll have a chocolate. And then you feel a bit better for a few minutes. But then the sugar goes through the body and you need another chocolate.
Hmm.
And that's
Hmm.
how it goes. So you've got to eat, like, for example, if you're an athlete
Hmm.
and you are cycling. My husband used to be a cyclist. And you're cycling and cycling and cycling. You've got these little sweets that you used to eat, these little things for energy boosts.
Uh-huh.
And if you
Hmm.
don't have them, after a while, the expression, you hit the wall, you feel you can't go on anymore,
Oh, yeah.
because you keep needing that energy boost all the time
Hmm.
from the sugar. However, if you don't have that, and if you eat the low carb, the keto, the Banting way of eating, it's all much of a muchness. Depending on it, it levels out with the carbs. The body is using fat, and
Hmm.
it's as if we've got a motor car, a vehicle. We're either running on gas or electricity. On gas, you've got to keep on refilling your vehicle every couple of weeks because the car is quiet, it's smooth, it goes fast.
Yeah.
Or here we don't really have electric cars. We have what's diesel. I don't know if you have diesel in America, but diesel, I think the trucks might have diesel. Here, a lot of the cars, I've got a diesel car.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's noisy, like all out. You can hear it coming a block away. But it is so energy efficient. It's amazing. I only fill up once a month.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's incredible.
Oh, my God.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's fantastic. And it's like our bodies. The sugar comes in, it's quiet, it's easy to digest. Boom, boom. It's gone through the body. You need some more. With the fat, your body takes more time to digest it. Not just fat, but it's the lack of sugar. It needs more time to digest it. And you don't, therefore, you feel full for longer and you don't have those cravings and you don't need to eat as often. So there's no snacks. You don't have a snack. You don't have to have, when you're watching TV at night or whatever, you don't have to have anything with your coffee. You just have your coffee. You don't have to have coffee and whatever. Mid-morning, everybody gathers around at the office or wherever, having their tea and cake. You just have your tea. You don't have the need, you don't have the feeling that you need that extra cake or cookie or biscuit or whatever it is, popcorn. And that's how it is. So with Banting is a South African version. It was popularized by Professor Tim Noakes, who's a sports scientist. He popularized it. Actually, that's how we got to hear about it. It encompasses low carb and keto. So the normal person eats, for example, 2 slices of bread with some jam, some jelly, and things on that. It's already close to 30 grams of carbs. And you're not going to just have 2 slices. You're going to have, how can I just have 2 sandwiches? Like 2 slices is like 1 sandwich, basically.
Sure.
You want more.
Right.
But the way we eat on Banting, keto, or low carb, we don't have more than 50 grams of carbs a day. So we don't have the bread, which is high carb, which is grains. We don't have it all. Yeah. And we have as low carb as possible that our bodies can handle. Certain people with certain autoimmune illnesses like thyroid, they cannot go too low. It can affect them. They have to have more of a low carb way of eating. But it works. It works.
Oh, yeah.
So my husband used to have diabetes. When he was first diagnosed about 10 years ago, he was told it's a progressive illness. You can lose your sight, which his mother had in one eye. You can get optic neuritis. You can get fingers, you lose a feeling. You get the feet. You can't have feeling in your feet. People get gangrene. They have their legs chopped off and all that terrible thing.
Yeah.
But by eating this way, he has reversed his diabetes. He doesn't have diabetes anymore unless he starts eating these foods again. So it can be controlled. A lot of these auto illnesses they're not taken away, but they can be controlled with this way of eating. And that's keto basically in a very, very small nutshell.
Oh, you did a wonderful job, giving a great summary and some terrific analogies there, Natalie. And there's so much physiology, aspects there that we could look at and components, with everything that you just broke down just so perfectly. And on the flip side, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, we went into this a little bit when I first met you because your story is incredible, obviously, with being a testament of what you've done and your husband as well. But there's a lot of psychology there, a lot of mindfulness that goes along with not only this way of life, but, the coaching that you do. So I just wanted to touch on that, on this part now, too, and ask you, again, under my own objective opinion, it looks like, am I not mistaken, this does seem like a mindful battle, doesn't it, for one to switch over to this?
In the beginning, it is. For example, gets back to drug abuse, alcohol abuse, smoking. A lot of people who smoke, they want to stop smoking, but they can't. So they can either go cold turkey and stop it. My last cigarette, that's it. That's very, very heavy mindfulness. That's very strong.
Yeah.
Or they say, I can't do that. But instead of having 80 today, I'll have 70. And then they work it down and they wean themselves off. Right. So it's the same thing with alcohol, unfortunately. If a person is an alcoholic, they can't have 3 today and 2 tomorrow. They have to stop because it's the same thing. It's the same idea, basically, a lot with sugar, that many people have to cut the craving. That's how I actually got started, because I was addicted to chocolate. That's right. And anyway, so I'm no longer addicted to chocolate. I haven't had a slab of chocolate now for 6 years. I've been doing this way of eating.
Wow. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Chocolate, licorice, all those things that I used to crave, I don't anymore. So it's the same thing if one is having sweets, candy. You can either say, that's it, I'm not having it again, or you can say, okay, so today I'll stop with the grains, tomorrow I'll stop with the legumes, the next day in blah, that's how you can go.
Mm-hmm.
The diet cold drinks, because the diet sodas. Talking South African words, I don't know if American
No,
know
yeah,
what
absolutely. Sure.
anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
problem is that people think sweeteners are all okay, but they're not. Many sweeteners, unfortunately, trigger our brains to think that they're getting sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest problem is insulin production. When we eat starchy foods, sugar, because all the breads, they turn into sugar, our body, when you eat those, and a lot of other things, it turns into sugar. And when you have too much sugar, the insulin, every time you eat, your insulin gets pushed out. And too much insulin in the body is the whole basis of the problems that we're all going through in the Western world, because too much insulin triggers Alzheimer's, in fact, Alzheimer's is known as type 3 diabetes in many circles, because it's the same situation. Too much of the food attacks the brain, too much of the sugars. Diabetes, the people are allergic to celiac disease and all those types of things. It's rheumatoid arthritis.
Yep.
You name it. If you trace it right down that the functional medicine, the doctors there do it, one sees that virtually everything can be controlled by changing the way of eating, to cutting the grains and the starches and the sugars. So the sweeteners, a lot of them, trigger insulin in the body, because they think, sweet's coming, let's get the insulin going to make it.
Yeah.
So when one gets started, you asked how people get started. A lot of people, mindset, to get back to that, are very strong. They say, that's it, push it away, I don't want it anymore. But a lot of people are not like that. And you've got to be kind to yourself and realize, I can't do it. I'm not a bad person. I just need time to adjust.
Yeah.
In fact, I bumped into someone in the store this morning, and she said to me, I'm so pleased to see you. I must tell you, I'm now doing XYZ. So she's been doing it very slowly, but she is doing it. It's important that you have to realize your limitations.
Yeah.
And you have to, as I always say, be kind to yourself and make sure that you are able to cope with what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to throw it all out and say, I couldn't be bothered. It's easier to make a sandwich. I don't care if I've got this illness. I don't care if I've got a rash.
Right.
I don't care if I've got eczema, blah, 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 because it's easier to eat this way. So the last thing to stop is actually the sugar, because once you've got rid of everything else, then you can start saying, okay, now I'm going to, obviously everybody's different, but that's what I've found, that the sugar is the hardest drug to break. So you cut you cut out, so instead of having 3 sandwiches today, you'll have 1 or 2. And it'll take a couple of months, but after a couple of months, you will realize that you're not starving all the time. You don't finish a meal and you still know, what am I going to eat? What am I going to find to eat? You're going to find that you don't have that craving. You don't think food 24/7.
Yeah.
And after a while, you'll be able to cope with eating all the food that's there. And there's such a variety. People just say, what is keto? Just bacon and a bottle of fat or something. It's not. It's every protein that's available you can eat. Every vegetable virtually. It's limitless. And it's up to you to make the food flavorful that you can eat it. That's what it is to.
Yeah, very well said, Natalie. You also mentioned about something interesting with celiac disease has been a really prevalent here in America, especially recently with the whole gluten phenomenon,
Yes.
like trying to avoid gluten. Everything's becoming gluten-free restaurants, gluten-free diet, grocery stores. So gluten itself, I would assume that's something, what's your take, again, that's flour, for the most part wheat. What is the take on that in terms of, is it suggested to completely avoid, or are some people okay with it? Or because I know some people have gluten intolerance, even if they don't have celiac, they might have an allergy. What's the experience you've seen with, that? And over, I'm just curious too, in South Africa, is celiac very prevalent? Is gluten problem? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious with that.
So the problem is that the wheat, from when I was a little girl 100 years ago, is not the same wheat that we have today. When I was a little girl, the wheat was high. It was tall. You drive past the fields and you see this huge wheat. You see the silos in the background. They'd cut the wheat down, they'd put it in the silos, they thresh it, all the whole story.
Interesting.
And then they'd come and they'd take the wheat, the threshings to the mills, and they'd make the flour, and then they'd make the bread. Nowadays, they have what's called dwarf wheat.
Oh.
It's not the same wheat, it's called dwarf wheat. And most places, they have modified it to have extra gluten.
Oh,
because
wow.
the trouble is that gluten makes the bread fluffy.
Yeah.
It just makes it rise better, and it makes it work so much better. But the problem is it doesn't work well with us human beings. So it looks beautiful, it tastes beautiful, but it damages us inside. And that's why there's such a high incidence of gluten intolerance in the world today. I must tell you an interesting side, that I always used to be told that it's dairy. I used to talk like this with a blocked nose all the time. So I had a postnasal drip. So when you have a postnasal drip, your voice is like this,
Sound nasally, yeah.
So I always thought, I shouldn't have the dairy, and I shouldn't stop dairy. And then a little while ago, somebody said, as I mentioned earlier, we're very dry in Johannesburg. We're very high up, and it's dry. There's no rain. And somebody said, I can't stand this. Winter every year, I get the blocked nose, and I get itchy throats and everything because of my postnasal drip. And I thought, hey, I don't have a postnasal drip anymore. It's gone. It's gone. I don't have that awful situation. And it's from not having the gluten.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the gluten is in everything. And the problem with gluten-free foods is they have a lot of other issues which spike the insulin. In the gluten-free cakes, or the gluten-free whatever other things that you buy, other ingredients, they might not have the gluten, but they do spike the insulin, and they do cause other issues to the body. So if you're going to cut the gluten, then it's very important to either find a coach or to find somebody to help you see which ingredients are okay, because many of them can cause problems as well. And many of them are pseudo-gluten. They give off gluten reactions. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, and
it's quite scary.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's really scary what is being done to food, and just in general. You talk about, when you mentioned about the wheat, I think about here in our country about just the GMOs and, just the hormones and injecting the animals to make them bigger and make the meat bigger. And, just our portion sizes here, our consumption has gotten so much bigger. We've increased that a lot. Crazy. It is, yeah.
Yeah. So talk about, to get back to hormones, another major problem with wheat, especially in America. Apparently in Italy doesn't have it. They use a spray called glyphosate.
Yeah, right. I think I've heard of this. This is similar to what they do here. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's if one actually reads up about it, it is so damaging to our bodies because the spray stays on.
Right.
And we ingest it.
Yes.
And it causes major issues.
Yeah. Actually, I think it might be this spray called Roundup that
Roundup is made up of that. Yes,
that's right. I think there's lawsuits pending here in this country because people have suggested that would be a correlation in causing that. So that's really interesting. I didn't realize they would have the same issues and problems, but I guess I should have assumed that. But we really don't hear about these problems in the Far East, do we? Like when you hear about Asia or other Far East countries, they seem to have a better handle.
Somebody told me that they went to Italy and they had some spaghetti and pasta, and apparently they don't use those sprays there, and they have different wheat. I don't know if they still have durum wheat or what type of wheat.
Okay.
And they didn't have issues there, which is interesting, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder about that.
Yeah. The more we process, the more we damage ourselves.
Yeah, no question. And exercise, obviously, too, that's another important aspect, too. And so that's another totally, important component that you work with your clients when you're coaching them. And how does that go with, in terms of balance, not only eating healthy, but also exercise?
Okay, so to go back to 6 years ago, when I was battling for 40 years trying to lose the weight and gaining it back with compound interest.
Right.
I used to exercise like a crazy wound-up toy, exercising 7 days a week. 6 days a week I was exercising.
Okay. I
was doing boxing, swimming, cardio things, cycling, I did other things, HIIT.
Wow.
And I only afterwards discovered that I was doing too much, and my body was in a state of stress, and the cortisol wasn't allowing me to relax. So now I'm more normal, if I can use it. I'm more calmer. I suggest to my clients who've never exercised before to start with walking.
Yeah.
Because that's gentle and it's at your own pace.
That's the best.
And one should try and do 30 minutes a day. I don't know how you're the sports expert, you're the doctor.
I'm right there with you on the walking. That's it. That's my exercise.
Start with 30 minutes, try and get up to 30 minutes, and then go up. I now do boxing training, back of boxing training 3 times a week, and I try and swim. Our gym's just been closed for a while. I do that. I do weights. Weights is also very important.
Yep.
It seems to be coming up more and more how important it is to be doing weights. Yeah.
I mean, just for strength training, just to avoid things like osteoarthritis and, osteoporosis, etc. So that's, very, very good to have that whole total package. And what else, Natalie, is on tap as we kind of are in the middle of winter down where you're at? What's the rest of this year entailing so far? Any goals and objectives that you've got going on, both professionally and personally in your life?
Yes, I want to actually get back to something in a minute. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. But firstly, I am doing, have you heard of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming?
No, please.
It's a type of coaching. It's a positive, it's trying to talk about mindset, make our mindsets positive. We look at a thing, you look at something, you can either say, or you can look at the thing and say, how can I improve it? Or what have I done? I'm such a terrible person. Or you can say, I made a mistake. What can I do to improve it?
Interesting.
So I like to do these type of things because not only as a keto coach, also as a life coach, it's very important to help people realize that we are not stuck in our misery. We can get out of it. And it's all in the mind. And once we get our mind sorted, we can do so much.
Yeah.
But to get back to your arthritis, I have to tell you this as you are a sports.
Please, yeah.
I had... You can see by my fingers I've got arthritis. You can see can you see how they're shaped? They are very gnarled. Terrible pain. I started boxing, and I think that because you're doing these movements all the time, you're twisting these things and you're getting the blood flowing here.
Sure.
And even though now following this way of eating, I don't have any pain at all. But when I started boxing, it reduced it dramatically.
Oh, nice. Good.
So it's something if you've got clients who've got osteoarthritis, doing the boxing and all those movements, all those punches.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. I know it might be too simplistic, but by turning it and moving it, you're getting all these
that circulation. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. It's kind of like you're doing a mini workout for the hands, wrists. That totally makes sense. Yeah. Physiologically, that totally is very, very sensible. So that's good. And it's all about movement. I concur, Natalie. Walking, that's my workout for myself and my clients. I always get on that walking. That's the best. And Natalie, this time flew by so fast like it always does. I want to thank you. But before we let you go, if you wouldn't mind, let's go ahead and plug your website and promote anything else you've got going on right now and your social media and all that, please.
Okay, so I have Facebook. It's Living Keto with Nat, and I have Natalie Joel as well. So our Living Keto with Nat is more for the keto, and the the Natalie Joel is more for people who are interested in motivational talking and food improvement and that type of thing. And then I'm on Twitter at Natalie Joel, and I'm on Instagram Living Life with Nats.
Perfect. Good. Excellent. Well, we'll have that on the screen here when we fade to black momentarily, but I want to thank you so much again, Natalie, for your time. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. And again, thank you so much for arranging your schedule to be here. And this half hour just went by so quickly with you like it always does. And just stay warm down there, stay healthy, be safe. And I hope that, like we said at the beginning of this video blog, let's all hope that we get through this and become COVID-free or whatever this whole thing is, this Delta variant goes away.
Yes. To you too. Thank you very much. Lovely chatting to you.
Thank you. You too. And we'll see you next time, Natalie. And let's do this next month, please.
Lovely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.